Good morning. We're live. I wish I was on your side to know what happens. I say good morning. I assume something bings on your phone or something pops up on Facebook or
pop up down in the corner.
something happens out there when I say good morning. Mr. Joey's going to show me. Idea Studio is live now at Idea Studio. Okay.
There's Alicia.
And hi, Alicia. So Sophia must be ready each morning. Are you working at the dining room table? Or are you working in the living room or your room? Wonder where you're working, Miss Sophia. Are you at the dining room table? Is Gigi in the kitchen cooking something wonderful for dinner? Let's see. Casey doing schoolwork. She's got an online class right now. Or is that just on certain days? And let's see. Who do we guess, Sophia? Who will be next? Emily, maybe? Or Bay? Or who do we think will be next? Sophia beat everybody. I'm assuming if Alicia, good morning, Alicia. I'm assuming if Alicia signed on, that means Sophia is ready to go.
Patrick and Lydia, you got 5 people though.
Patrick and Lydia. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Lydia.
Oh, today Casey's doing it. Sophie's got schoolwork.
Oh, Sophia's got schoolwork. So Casey's there. Hi, Casey. Casey had schoolwork yesterday online. I know some online classes you have to log in at like a certain time.
Patrick
And they
Lydia.
know if you're there. So no, Lydia and Patrick are there. Hi, guys. I was looking at birthdays on our list because we have a special birthday today. So I was flipping through to look at birthdays. And I know Lydia and Patrick have a birthday coming up in June. They're on June 6th. They're both on June 6th because they're twins. That's just 4 days after my big kid, Mr. Josh's birthday. Joey's not till September. So got Lydia and Patrick. Is Emily there yet? Nick there yet?
I haven't seen him yet.
Do I have Effie? I think her sister's name is Millie, the Hendrys. I think their mom's doing it too. Effie and Millie and I forget mom's name, Riley, I think. And it's Effie's birthday today. So we'll have to watch when you see the Hendrys sign on. One of you guys tell me if the Hendrys are on. They might be doing their project later. So who else have we got? Have we got a few people signed on? We're going to do an easy project today. Yesterday, it wasn't that it was hard, but it's kind of complicated. It's not really hard. It's not really complicated. But it was kind of, took a lot of concentration. I should say it that way. It took a lot of concentration, didn't it? So I wanted to show you mine because didn't have mine finished when we signed off. So this is how mine turned out. So I wanted to show it to you. It's really such a cool project, and I know it was a little hard on your end because I was moving kind of fast so we could get all the steps in, so it's saved for a video. So if you got too frustrated with it yesterday or yours wasn't turning out right, get a piece of paper. This is one of those easy projects. You can do it on any kind of paper. So if your paper didn't turn out so great yesterday, if you weren't real pleased with it, find a piece of paper later this week, pull the video up, because what's cool with our lessons that get saved on the video, you can pull the video up and then you can push pause. Is that what you do to make it stop? You push pause and you can catch up and then you can push it on again. So you can go as slow as you want and make sure all your little lines get where you want them. So try this again later.
Cora and Sunny are there.
Hi Cora, hi Sunny. Did you guys do this yesterday?
And Eva.
Eva, did you try this one yesterday? It turns out so cool. I really like how my new one turned out. I like it better than the old one. So see, this is one of those projects you can do it over again and see if you like yours even better. So try this again when you can pull up the video and stop it and start it and go at your own pace.
Your sister.
Hi Deb, did you try this one? Did my sister try this one? You would like this one. I bet you would do just fine. And I know you have whites you can use and Sharpies you can use. You have tons of Sharpies in your basement. I've seen them. So this would be really cool. You wouldn't have to do it in black and white. You could do it in red and white. You could do it in any color you wanted. It would look really cool in red and white because it would look like those picnic tablecloths.
Sarah Elizabeth.
Hi, Sarah Elizabeth. Did you try this? Did you see how Mom's turned out? Did she get hers done? So take some pictures, guys. I want to see how your checkered beach ball under the tablecloth turned out. I'm going to put mine up here, or I'm going to hand mine to Mr. Joey. But I just wanted to make sure you guys try it. I know it was a little complicated as we tried to do it quickly yesterday. So pull that video up and try it again. And that's one of those fun projects. You don't have to have a certain kind of paper that you might have used up. So that project works great on any kind of paper. And I hadn't thought about it, but we used our black Sharpie. Any kind of Sharpie would work. So if you had red Sharpies or purple Sharpies, you could take your favorite color and do that project. Because shading with the pencil is going to be the same no matter what color you use, black or red or purple or teal or whatever color you want to make your checkerboards. And you could make 2 color checkerboards. You could have a red and green checkerboard, and you'd still go in with your pencil and shade on the edges of the ball, and you'd still go and put a little white highlight in some spot. So try it again and shoot me some pictures. Today we're going to use, oh, I thought you'd got me a new black paper. Mr. Joey's got to get me a new black paper. We're going to use our black paper today, and we're going to make a sea turtle. See my sea turtle? So we're going to give ourselves a breather and do an easy project. It's cool on the black paper because he looks like he's just crawling out of the water here. So find your piece of black paper. I think you had one piece of black paper on your clipboard this week. So you're gonna need your black paper. I used our oil pastels. So if you've either got your rubber banded set of oil pastels or you have a little box, some of you have little boxes that are red. Some of you have these yellow boxes. Some of you have them wrapped in rubber bands. And then I pulled out my white colored pencil to draw with. If you got colored pencils from the other week, and good news, if you weren't with us the other week, we have these really awesome colored pencils that we gave everybody a set of. I think that was last week. If you weren't with us that week, we have a set of colored pencils coming up again this next week. So if you haven't ordered your bag, go on and order your bag, and we'll have colored pencils if you don't have them yet. If you've got them, pull out your white colored pencil. Or if you don't have the colored pencils, it's no big deal. Just get your pencil. You can see pencil lines on black paper, so it'll be easy enough to see. And you see the white colored pencil a little easier. But if you don't have a white colored pencil, go ahead and get out a regular pencil. And we're going to draw our little sea turtle on here. He's really easy to draw, so I don't think we're even going to need our erasers today. I don't think you'll have to use them. So find yourself your black paper. We got everybody signed on. Did everybody give us some thumbs up or a comment? And did we see if Effie and Millie Hendry were on yet? Anybody see Hendry's on yet, Mr. Joey or Mark?
Nick's there, but I haven't seen
Hey,
him.
Nick. Well, we're going to wish a happy birthday to a little girl that's out there with her sister, Millie. The birthday girl's name is Effie. I noticed her mom had filled out and put both the little girls' birth dates on. I have birth dates on a lot of people. When you registered for an activity bag, you had to put a birthday in. Mr. Mark has now fixed it that you have to put a birthday for everybody you register. But when I had done it, you only had to put in a birthday. And surprisingly, a lot of the parents who registered for you kids to do this, the parent put the parent's birthday in. And it was really kind of fun to know how old some of you moms and dads are out there, but I really don't need to know how old the mom and dad is. It's helpful for me to know how old the kids are that are doing the projects with me. So as fun as it was to see what age parents we have out there, when you register now, you got to put the kid's birthday in. So I don't necessarily have all your birthdays. I might be missing somebody who has a birthday today. So if you have a birthday today, give me a little comment in there. Or if you had a birthday yesterday or you got one coming up tomorrow, But today is a special day because Effie Hendry has her birthday today. And I don't have my sheet in front of me to tell you how old Effie's turning today. So we want to wish Effie a happy birthday. And Effie has a very, very, very special birthday. It's today on April 23rd. And that is my mom's birthday. Mr. Mark's mom has a birthday today. That's Joey's Nana. And her birthday's today. So Effie's birthday and Mom's birthday, Nana's birthday, are the same day. So everybody out there, just send lots of happy birthday wishes out to people that are having birthdays today. We have kind of weird birthdays when you have to social distance, can't have a big party. So we just have to send lots of good thoughts through the air and wish happy birthdays. So we're going to make a sea turtle on this great birthday day. And we're going to draw a sea turtle. And I gave him some waves. I love how oil pastels look on the black paper. They kind of pop with their colors. So get your black paper out. Make sure you found either a pencil or your white colored pencil. And you need your pack of oil pastels. Okay? So get those out. Mr. Joey's going to move our camera in. And I'm going to turn around and get situated to draw here with you. So I'll put my oil pastels over here. And I don't need my whole pack of colored pencils. I just need my white one. We'll put our turtle over here. Can we get both of them in when we're horizontal like this, Joey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I need to just move this off for right now?
No, it's fine.
Okay. There we go. Mr. Joey's got it figured out here. Okay. So we got a little sea turtle. Well, he's a big sea turtle. We're going to say this is one of the mom sea turtles. Sea turtles are very important along our coast here because sea turtles are so awesome to watch in the water. And we have to do our part to help protect them. Sea turtles come up out of the water. The big mom sea turtles come up out of the water and crawl up onto our beaches and dig a nest. Their nests go way, way, way down. They're not just shallow right under the surface of the sand. They're down just a little ways. They dig these big holes, they lay their eggs in them, and then they cover them up, and then they crawl back out to the water. And those little tiny baby sea turtles will hatch and go crawling back out to the water. And not too many of them survive, so we have to do our part to help them survive. On an average, Hilton Head has about 150 turtle nests every year. Last year, in 2019, Hilton Head hit a record. Can you guess how many? Now, I said we average about 150 nests up and down our beaches on Hilton Head. That means 150 on an average sea turtles crawl out of the ocean, dig their big hole, lay all their eggs, and go back. Last year, we hit a record, which would mean we had more than 150. Last year, we had 450 nests on Hilton Head with our sea turtles. So I think we're getting kind of close to our sea turtle nesting time. I have to look that one up. I'll have Mr. Joey look that up while we're drawing our sea turtle. And so we need to be very careful, particularly since we're not supposed to be out on the beaches right now anyway. So this is a good time for our sea turtles. We're going to draw our sea turtle. We're going to
Rotate your stool.
rotate my stool. Oh, Mr. Joey needs me to move my stool so I don't bump his camera. I always bump his camera. So when the picture gets jiggly, don't blame Mr. Joey. It's Miss Jenny kicking it with her foot. Okay, can you see my turtle here? We're going to draw his shell. We kind of look at the shape of his shell. That's what we're going to draw first because everything else hooks onto that shell. So we're going to draw his shell first here. And I'm going to move it over because I can't reach. We're going to draw this shell first. And if you look at it, we look at what shape it is. What shape is that? Not exactly a circle, it's an oval. But what we're going to do is we want the top part of the shell to be just a little wider than down here at the bottom where his tail is. So we're going to make an oval, but we're going to make the top of it wider. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down drawing this oval, because I know from having kids in here at the studio with me, it's hard to draw an oval. Lots of times they just turn out too stretched out or too skinny or too small. And what's cool on our drawing here is we're gonna look at how to draw all these cool shapes on his shells. So we don't want our shell to be too small. So I'm gonna show you a little bit different. Instead of trying to draw that oval shell all in one oval, we're gonna draw it in two parts. So we're gonna draw the top of it first. So we're almost gonna make like a nice letter C, like a big smiley face. So we want to determine where on our paper to put the top of his shell. I want enough room to put his head on. And I want a little space in front of his head so it looks like he's getting ready to crawl out of the surf here onto the beach. So if I want to leave a little bit of space for his head, a little bit of space in front of his head, I don't want to start the top of his shell too close to the edge of the paper. Can we see this edge? Okay. So I'm going to look at making a big letter C, kind of tipped down, facing the wrong way. But I want to leave enough room in front of his head. I want to leave enough room for his head. So I'm going to put his shell right about here. Now I'm going to press kind of hard with my colored pencil so you guys can see my line. Same as if I was using a pencil. I just want you guys to see my line. You don't have to press this hard. You just have to press hard enough that you can see it. Okay? See how I left some space to put his head and a little bit of space in front of his head? We're going to put him on an angle like this. Because one, that gives us the most space on our paper. And it kind of makes a more interesting composition than if I just put him going straight across. Okay? So did we get a letter C, or it looks like a nice big smile? If I turned it this way, it looks like I'm happy, right? Looks like a smile. So we put a letter C facing the wrong way, kind of on an angle here. And now we're going to do the rest of our oval. Okay? And does it matter if my oval comes down like this? Oops, that won't leave me much space here for his fin. He gets a fin on the back of him. Is that okay if the fin goes off the paper? Yeah, I always like when things go off the paper. Makes an interesting composition. So I'm going to look at this as the top of his shell, right here. And we're going to draw the rest of the oval to make the bottom of his shell, okay? So if he's on an angle, look at my pencil here. This is where his head's going to be. I want his shell to be on an angle like this, okay? So I'm going to put the back of his shell back here. I'm just going to lay my pencil down just like that. And I'm going to put a little dot down there. That's where I want the back of his shell to be. So I'm going to I'm going to come around here all the way down to my little dot I made. And I'm going to come around on this side. Going to make the two sides of my shell. Okay? Now, see how I changed my line a little bit here with my white colored pencil? That's okay. We're going to cover all this up with our oil pastel. So if you got a few extra lines, that's okay. So we got this nice, it's almost like an egg shape, isn't it? It's a little fatter at this end of the oval than this end. So it's kind of like what we call an egg shape. It's not pointy at the back of his shell, but this is not quite as big of a curve as this is up here. So get your nice oval on here for his shell. And then we're going to add his head next so he can tell where he's going. And again, we're going to think of his angle like this. He's going from this corner of the page to this corner of the page. So I'm going to make his head pointing towards this corner up here. And what shape does his head look like? It's kind of like a U shape, but we're going to curve his head in just a little bit on here and have his neck come down. So it's almost like making a really fat J, letter J. And then we're going to bring his neck down here. So see how big his head is? Not too big. They're not a long neck turtle. I think there is such a thing as a long neck turtle. I'll have Mr. Joey look it up. But this is not a long neck turtle, so we're not going to stick his neck way out here. But we want to give it about that big, so maybe about as big as Miss Jenny's thumb. And I'm going to have his head come out this way, just like I'm making a letter J. So I have a little letter J, like a hook coming out here. I'm going to curve that around and make his neck just a little skinnier down here at the bottom. Okay, so it kind of looks like I've got a big thumb sticking out here, doesn't it? So that's going to be my turtle's head. Did you notice that the flippers on my turtle aren't the same size? Typically, when I look at a sea turtle, and there's lots of different kinds of them, there's green sea turtles, there's loggerhead sea turtles, there's leatherback sea turtles. So there's lots of different kinds, and I'm sure their fins are slightly different. But typically, when you look at a sea turtle, their front fins are a little bigger than their back fins. They have to use those front fins to scoop an awful lot of water to really propel them forward. So those front fins are a little bigger than the back fins. So we're going to give them two big front fins, and they're going to be curved out. So they're getting ready to scoop some water. The sea turtle's getting ready to crawl out of the water right up onto the beach here. So we're going to give him his two big front fins. And this is where his head hooked onto his shell here. So we're going to go just a little below on the sides of his shell up here and put his front fins. They're going to be up here at the front part of his shell, and we'll put his back fins at the back part of the shell. And look at the shape of these fins. They don't come to a point. It's a little bit of a curve at the end, but they come curving out here and curve back in. See how fat his fin is? We don't want to get it skinny. It doesn't come back here to a point. So we keep him nice fat. He has to have lots of muscles in his fins. Is Dutch inside? We need his fins to have lots of muscles here to pull all that water when he's scooping. So we're going to start up here. Here's where his neck went in. So I'm going to give it a little bit of space. I want his fins to look like they're coming out the sides here. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make this fin first. I'm going to make a big scoop out here. And then I'm going to scoop back in. It's not quite horizontal. It has a little bit of curve to it. So we're going to put these two fins across from each other, just like these were his shoulders. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make a nice curve out like this. I don't want his fin to get too big, so don't get it too big. I'm going to give a little curve at the end, so it's not pointy. And then I'm going to come back almost in a horizontal. I want to give that fin some nice big width here. Could it be a little wider? Could be a little wider. I could make it a little wider, which I might do. Let's make it a little wider. There we go. Now, doesn't matter that I have a line right there because I'm going to color right over it with my oil pastels. And I could use my eraser if I wanted to. Erasers will erase a little bit of colored pencil. Okay, so I made a nice big fin here. This fin on this side is supposed to match. His front two fins would be about the same size. So I want to make a fin about this big over here. So what's going to happen to my fin over here? It's going to run off the paper. I love when things run off the paper. So we're going to make a curve. We made a curve like this here. So on this side, it's going to curve out this way. Now, see how much space I left from his head to his fin? So I want to leave about the same amount of space. Is that about the same amount of space? Let's see. Space here, space here. So I'm going to have his fin come out right about there because they look about spaced the same. And I'm going to pretend yours might fit on your paper. So mine's going to curve up. If I had paper here, it would come out here. I put a little curve on the end of it, and then I'd bring my line coming back. Now, I don't want this fin to be lots bigger. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want it to look about the same size. So this is where my fin would go out over there. Now, does it get skinnier as it goes? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's this wide where it hooks into the shell. Then it gets a little thinner and a little thinner. Does this one get thinner? No. So I might need to make sure it looks like it gets thinner. So I'm going to make it a little wider at the bottom there. So I'd have to come over here and make this one a little wider. My fins are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. So I got his 2 fins coming out here. We're going to give him 2 little fins on the back. Those fins are shorter, so they almost look more like a triangle. So I'm going to come all the way back down here to the bottom of his shell. Right in the middle of the bottom, I'm going to put a little triangle there. I'm going to give a little curve to my triangle. That's going to be our turtle's tail. Turtles have tail, tortoises don't. Right? Turtles have tails. Lydia would know. Lydia knows all these things. Turtles have tails and tortoises don't. Is that the way it goes, Lydia? I think that's correct. Tortoises are those big land turtles that we see, like in the Galapagos Islands, that are as big as a table. And I think it's that turtles have tails and tortoises don't. So
Land versus water.
land versus water. So we're going to put a little triangle here. I made my triangle curve just a little bit in the water there. So it's very, very small compared to our fins we drew. And then on either side back here, I'm going to give him 2 little fins. They're kind of the same size, width-wise and shape-wise. They're just not as long. So I'm going to put 1 fin back here. I'm going to let it come out just like I'm making a triangle. Curve the little point just a little bit. And I'm going to make the sides of my triangle just a little curved. Okay. Not very long. Let's see how long this fin is compared to this fin. See? Not nearly as long. I'm going to curve it just a little bit. So it's like curving this way. And then we're going to curve this way. So we want a curve this way on this side, and we want to curve this way on this side. So turtles have tails. Mr. Joey just looked up for me, and they're fully functional tails. Actually, that's how you know if it's a male turtle or a female turtle.
Tortoises.
But tortoises also have tails. So I got that wrong. Lydia's probably out there correcting me. So tortoises have tails also. So something doesn't have a tail. Maybe it's just certain varieties of turtles or tortoises that have tails and don't.
Just says all turtles have tails.
Okay, Mr. Joey looked up and it says all turtles, including tortoises, have tails. So Miss Jenny must have imagined reading that something doesn't. Maybe it's like that one species of cat. There's a species of cat called Manx, and he doesn't have a tail. Maybe there's one species of turtle that doesn't have a tail. You guys look that up for me. Okay, we made a curvy fin here. Curves just a little bit. It's shorter than these fins up here. And we're going to put one on this side too. I've left just a little space on either side of the tail. And we'll make one side of the triangle, make a little curve instead of a point, and curve it back here for the other side. So I got 2 fins at the back. I got 2 big fins at the front. And here's the fun part. Turtles or tortoises or whichever species we have created here, some of them have very plain shells. Some of them have patterns all over their shells. So I have created my own new species of turtle that has pink, purple, red, and orange shell. And on the little, I think of this like the little collar, the little edge of its shell is blue and red and pink. Maybe there's some orange thrown in there too. So this is the fun part, that we're just going to create our own shape of the shell. I'm going to show you some things about making contour lines on our shell. Before I do that, I want you to notice, well, we'll talk about it when we get our oil pastels out. We're going to use some of the negative space, the paper, the part we're not going to color, which is what we think of as negative space. When we color something, this becomes the positive space that we see. So this is a little exercise in using positive and negative space. Do you see how my cool patterns on my shell look like they have a little shadow to them in some places? I used the black paper to create some shadows. So we're going to talk about leaving some negative space showing to create some different shades of our colors instead of just having one solid color. Before I do some cool patterns in my shell here, I'm going to draw this little border. See how we're looking straight down on the top of this sea turtle? We must be in a blimp or a balloon up above, hot air balloon, and we're looking down on this turtle. That's why we see all the parts of him instead of looking at him from the side. So we see this whole border around his shell. I think of it like a collar or a border. So I'm going to give myself a little guideline, and I'm going to come inside my oval that I made, and I'm going to make a copycat oval pretty close to the edge there. I'm just copying this line just a little ways. I'm going to go around and make myself this little border all the way around my shell. So I'm just making a copycat line. It's going to be just like my line on the outside, just on the inside a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. We kind of want to leave the same amount of space around it. And then when we color, see how mine looks like it curves out like a big rope around him. So we can create all that kind of look. Right now he looks pretty flat, doesn't he? He looks like a flat magnet I might put on my refrigerator. So we're going to create some shape to him. We want his shell to look like it humps up to hold all his body underneath there. Remember yesterday when we drew our op art, how the flat part of the tablecloth, the lines were just straight, and it made the tablecloth look flat. And then inside our circle where we wanted it to look like the ball curved up, we made our lines curvy. Like if you were feeling the shape of that ball, our lines followed that shape. So we're going to do the same thing on this turtle here. We're going to put some lines on the inside to create some patterns, and we're going to make them follow the shape of the shell. So I'm going to create a bunch of little shapes here. You can create whatever kind of shapes you like. If you want to create some shapes inside his shell, we're going to use some lines that create this roundness to his shell. So instead of having a straight line go down his back, I'm going to start up here near his head, and I'm going to make that line curve just a little bit from the front to the back. It's going to curve up and go down. That makes it look like his shell comes up and goes down. So I'm going to divide my shell this way. I'm going to just create whatever kinds of patterns I like. You can create patterns however you would like. When we put lines on, we just want them to curve. So if I had lines going this way, my shell is going to go down this way, and it's going to go down this way. So if I divided up my shell over here, I want from the middle of the shell here, maybe I got a line that's going to curve down this way. If I put a line up here, it's going to curve this way, right? So think of the shell. Think of how the shell would be coming down. Up here, my shell would be curving down this way. And if this is the top of the shell, my lines back here are going to curve down over here, aren't they? So if I put a line over here, I might curve one down that way. If I wanted one back here, it's going to curve down that way. Maybe I'll put another one that'll curve down over here. Should I put another one over here? I'll divide these up in some nice little spaces. That looks kind of cool. Should I divide these spaces a little bit? If I wanted to divide them this way, I want the curve to go like the shape of the shell like this. So if I wanted to divide this, maybe I put a curve this way. I could come put a little curve up here, divide that one. Any place else? Maybe I'll divide one back here. What if I divided one over here? I'm kind of liking all my little pattern here. Looks kind of cool. Your pattern can look however you would like. I kind of like how this pattern almost made a star in the middle, but not quite. This one didn't do that. Maybe, think I should divide it anyplace else? Feel like I want to divide this one. Let's divide that one. There we go. I kind of like that. What do you think? Are you getting some cool patterns on your shell? If you're getting some cool patterns on your shell, that's awesome. Now, my turtle, I made his head and his fins green so that I could use all some really cool colors on his shell. That's my turtle. You can make your turtle whatever colors you would like. If you would like to make your turtle pink, if you want to make your turtle red, you could make your turtle purple and put a green, shades of green on his shell. You can do them however you would like. Because you're the artist. That's the fun part of doing projects like this.
You can do them brown with a green shell, make them look like a real turtle.
You could make him look more like a real turtle. You could use some of your browns. Remember these cool brown colors that we had in our oil pastels? You could make shades of brown and black on his fins and his head. And then you could make shades of green on his shell and he'd look like a turtle. So you might want, since we used our oil pastels the other day, you might want to get your scrap paper out so you have something to wipe your oil pastel on. Miss Jenny's got a piece of scrap paper right here. Just any scrap paper, because remember, my oil pastel, try to put it in the right place. See how I've got black on my brown? So if I didn't want that to happen, if I don't want to see that black on here, we'd want to clean off your oil pastel before you use it, just so you get the color you want, okay? So I could use some brown on his fin here. Might try this. I'm gonna do a little bit of oil pastel. Now with the oil pastels, I'm pressing kind of hard where I want the color to be really rich. But then if I press lighter, if I don't press quite so hard, more of the black paper shows through if you don't press so hard, which makes it look like I got a little bit of shadow here. So where I want it to look nice and bright and rich, I can press harder with my oil pastel. And where I want it to look like there's a little bit more shadow, if I don't press so hard, some of my brown paper shows through. Black paper. Some of my black paper is showing through, which is giving this part of his fin a little darker look. See how I use the black paper? I use the negative space to create a little shadow. Let me show you something that's really cool. Maybe he could have a little green on his fin too. Oh, green doesn't show up too much with the brown, does it? A little bit. It turns it a little bit different shade of color, doesn't it? And look, in my spaces where some of the black paper was showing, my green is going to show even more. But here's what I want to show you. If you use some of your white, see how my fins on this sea turtle look like they have some texture to them? Some gnarly kind of bumpy texture to our sea turtle. You can take your white. My white's kind of broken into lots of little pieces. You might have a whole piece of white. You can take your white and you can scribble right on top. I'm just making all kinds of curly, cute little scribbles with it. Scribbling around and around and around and around. And that's going to create the look of some texture on my sea turtle's fins. Now, the white's really going to lighten up where the brown is, isn't it? So I'm going to come right along the edge of my brown here and really lighten up. Pull some of that in. I'm just smushing my oil pastel around a little bit to create some really light edge to my fin. You can take your finger and you can kind of smush your oil pastel a little bit. Ooh, I really like this fin. It looks kind of cool. Put a few more squiggles right there. I'm not pressing hard at all when I'm making squiggles because I just want a little faint look of some texture. So I could come around and do this on all my fins. You could be using some really interesting colors if you want. Be sure and try pressing not so hard so you get a little bit of shadow in there. Things are always more interesting if they're not just one plain color. And this is a cool way to create some different shades of color with an oil pastel by letting some of our black paper do some of the work. Now, since I put a little green on this fin, I kind of want his two fins to match a little bit. So I'm going to come over here and put a little green on this fin too. Just because I think he ought to match, sort of. And then I'm going to take my chalk and I'm going to squiggle some of my texture on here. This is a fun part. You get a scribble. Scribble, 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 scribble. Okay. I'm going to smudge it a little bit with my finger like I did over on the other side. And remember how I used my white on top of my brown to really kind of give him a little highlight, like the sun was shining back here on my sea turtle as he's crawling out of the ocean? So since one fin's lighter back there, I'm going to make this one lighter too. I'm pressing a little harder with my white right on top of my brown. I'm not really making a line next to the brown. Just pressing right on the brown, and it gave me this really nice light brown. That looks kind of cool. Now, you think these fins back here ought to kind of match these fins here? I think on this sea turtle I'll make them match. Do you have to make them match? Nope. That's the fun of being an artist, particularly with something like a sea turtle. You never know. They might not have discovered a species of sea turtle that has pink polka dots on him. So you can make your turtle whatever pretty colors you like. Use your favorite color. If your favorite color is teal, then use some green and put some blue over your green, and you'll have a teal colored sea turtle. If your oil pastel starts getting right down to the paper like this, so it's hard to get the color, use your fingernail. We don't want to pull a lot of the paper off. You just want to pull a little bit off at the end there, because then that still gives you some paper to hold on to with your fingers. My oil pastel fell out. When you hold the oil pastel like this without the paper, you're going to get a lot of oil pastels on your fingers, which is okay. You can wash it off. I'm going to go ahead while I got my brown out here and put brown on both sides. I'm going to put some brown on this fin over here. And remember, I want to press lighter so I get a little bit of that black paper showing. So it looks like a little bit of shadow here. Okay, and I'm going to add a little green, just because I did up here on the other one. At first it doesn't look like you really see the green on the brown, does it? But it's very subtle. It shows you just a little bit of color. Little bit of color in there. Okay, and should I use a little of the white back here? Maybe if the sun's shining this way, I'll put a little white up here. Right on the brown, right at the front of his fins here. And we'll put a little up here. I like the white on top of the oil pastels. They blend really nicely. Aren't they cool to use, the oil pastels? They blend really pretty. Okay, that gave some nice highlights on those. Uh-oh, I forgot his tail. He needs a tail. I don't think I can make just a bright green tail. Looks a little funny, doesn't it? So let's put some brown on his tail. There we go. And a little bit of white. Look at my white. It's turning all kinds of colors, isn't it? So I'll put just a little white in on his tail. There we go. So his tail kind of matches his fins. What about his head? You think his head ought to be the same color as his fins? I'm thinking maybe a little bit more green on his head. So I'm going to color his head in green first. And I'm going to leave a little of the black paper showing back here where it's hooking into his body. I'm going to press really lightly so I get just a little bit of black paper. See how it kind of makes it look like a little bit of shadow as he goes back under his shell. And let's give him a little bit of brown shading on his head. There we go. Now look at my other drawing. Did I give him an eyeball? I just gave him one eyeball because his head kind of looked like it was turned a little bit. This head looks like it's sticking straight out, so I think I'd
add some white to that head.
Oh, Mr. Joey thinks we need a little white on his head, which I think he's right. We'll put a little highlight right up here at the beginning where his head's reaching the beach. The sun's shining on the top of his head. Oh, that looks good, Mr. Joey. Good call. I like that. Oops, got a little white right there. We'll make him look really bright on this side. Okay. Now, I used my black oil pastel and gave him just a little eyeball. And I think since his head's pretty much pointing straight ahead, I'm going to see his eye on each side. So I'll put one eye over here, one eye over here. I like that. Do you see what's missing in this eyeball? What did I do on that eyeball?
White.
I used a little bit of white. So I got a clean piece of white, or I cleaned off part of my white. Think I can get this poor little piece of white clean enough? Get a clean little corner of your white, and all I did was just press. If I just press the little corner, it gives them a little highlight there. Now's the fun part. Now we get to create this awesome shell. Now, do you remember the other day when we used oil pastels? See these little fuzzies? Little chunks of the oil pastel that kind of fall off when you're coloring. Remember, we don't want to brush them because then that just smears them all over the paper. So I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to tap it up here on my piece of scrap paper. If they don't fall off, take your finger and flick them, okay? Now, I still got a piece stuck there, but that's okay because I'm going to color right over it. So I've got this brownish, greenish sea turtle. I kind of like him. He looks kind of cool. So I want to give him some bright colors on his shell. Miss Jenny's favorite color is yellow. So you can use your favorite color. You can decide to use yellows and greens, colors that go nicely together next to each other on the color wheel. You might make a rainbow turtle, so you'd do Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, blue, violet. You could put a rainbow shell. You could put just all pinks and reds. You can make your shell however you like. You can come in and I'm going to use my yellow here. And remember, if you press hard, color it all in. We're going to see that pretty yellow. But if I wanted it to have a little shadow as it went down here, I could press just a little lighter with my yellow. If I press light, more of my black paper shows through and gives it just a little bit of shadow. Now, my yellow doesn't show up too good against black paper, does it? What do you think would happen if we put a little white over it? Oh, it's just, well, it's going to look like a very light yellow, isn't it? But it kind of makes it pop a little brighter, doesn't it? So I'm going to press very lightly down here because I still want my shadow to show through. Oop, I like that. Okay, if that square is yellow, maybe I'll skip around. I might do one over here in yellow. You guys can jump around and make whatever colors you would like on your shell. Let each little square get just a little bit darker shade in there. I'm not going to put white on all my colors, but I am going to use it on this yellow just because I think it makes it pop a prettier color. Okay. There we go. Now, any place else I could put yellow? I could put it here. I'm trying to make my colors not touch so they show up a little bit better next to each other. So I think I'll put a little yellow down here in this shell. I'm going to press lightly so I get a little shade darker there. And since it's that really pale yellow, I'm going to put a little white on it there. It could pop a little brighter. Okay, got some yellows. Well, it would go nice with yellow. Maybe some of this light. Ooh, I got a really light yellowy green. That would look pretty, wouldn't it? So let me get some of my light yellow green showing, and I'll put a little spot in there that's a little lighter green. Maybe I'll do this spot a little lighter green. My yellowy green kind of looks like my yellow, doesn't it? They kind of aren't that different in color. Now I pressed really hard in this part of my shell here, so I'm going to press a little lighter down in here, just so I get a little darker shade of my green going there. Okay, any place else to put green? Maybe right here. Okay. And what else? What would be another good color? What do you think? We could do some dark green. What do you think the dark green would look like? Not too much different. A little bit different. I can tell the difference. Can you tell the difference? Okay, fill in that little square. And maybe this one over here. It's kind of like making a patchwork quilt here. Now, you don't have to be coloring as fast as me. Remember, you can take your time. I want to try to get this done, so you'll get to see how to finish, because we want to do his little collar here.
If you do dark green there, you get 3 other spaces of another
Oh,
color.
look, Mr. Joey's paying attention. He suggests if I do dark green here, then I'll have 3 yellows, 3 light greens, 3 dark greens, and I have space for 3 more of another color. Okay, so I got these 3 spaces. I got yellow, I've got yellow green, I've got green, aha, maybe blue. I don't want to put blue on his collar out here because I want the blue water to show up really good. So I'm going to put blue right. Ooh, look how pretty the blue oil pastel looks on the black paper. Is that cool? Look at that. It's almost like neon, isn't it? So I'm going to press the hardest out here at the edges of this shape. And then I'm going to press lighter as I get to the middle. So I'm going to let a little of the black paper make the middle of this shape a little darker. Oh, that blue shows up really bright, doesn't it? So let's make this shape over here. Are you guys getting some cool colors on your shapes? They turning out nice? You know what's cool? If you try a color and you don't like it, pick another color and just go right over the top of it. And you saw how the colors can go over the top of each other and create different colors. So if you don't like how one color turned out, don't get upset, because you can just pick up another color and go over it and it'll turn it into something different. Okay. Oh, I like my shell. Turned out kind of cool. Now I got this little collar here, and I want to make that another color. I haven't decided what color I should make it. Let's see. Maybe purple? I could try this purple here. What I want to do in this collar, I want to make it feel like it's kind of round, like a rope going around him. So, and I don't need the outside edge to be perfectly curved. I'm going to give him a little bit of scallops, a little bit of curves there on the outside of his shell. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way around, kind of outline my shell. And where I can see the parts of my shell, I'm going to give it some curves. There we go. And then when I color it in, I'm going to color it in with curves like this. So I'm curving from here up to this part. I might even let some of my black paper show. So it's almost like I'm using the black paper. Up here, my curves are going to keep going around. So on this back side, they're going to be curving this way. Need to get a little bit more paper off my crayon here, my oil pastel. There we go. And let's see, I'm curving this way up here. Ooh, you know what would be really cool? I think if we put white on this pinky purple color, it might look pretty cool. So I'm going to come around here. I'm going to color in my little collar here. I'm going to color a little fast because I want to show you what white will look like on top of this color. See, it's kind of fun when you get to see what they look like on Miss Ginny's picture, then you'll know if you want to use it on your picture. Because if I make a color and you're out there going, ooh, I think that's kind of icky color, then you'll know you don't want to use that color on yours. Okay, here's my white. You want to see what white looks like on this pinky purple color? Oh, that looks kind of cool. I like that. So I'm going to go around and just make some little lines. It kind of lightens it up, doesn't it? So maybe I'll just put my little white lines over my pinky purple color up near the top of his shell here. And maybe just put a few here and there back here. Oh, I kind of like him. Okay, I've got a bunch of fuzzies. And remember, you guys can take your time coloring. I do want to show you one more thing. So if you need to pause with your coloring, or if you can watch while you color, I want to show you about putting some ripples in the water. My oil pastel set just has one shade of blue in it. But look at my drawing over there. Looks like I've got dark blue and light blue and white, doesn't it? Well, we got that light blue color just from where the white went over the dark blue with the oil pastels. So what we want to do is make some ripples. Now, ripples are a little wavy. They're kind of close. I've kind of got some lines close to each other, got some lines by themselves. I've got some other lines close to each other. Some lines go from one side all the way to the other side. Some lines only go part way across, because water doesn't always do exactly the same thing, right? So we're going to pick a spot. I'm going to make a wavy line. I'm going to put, he's on a diagonal this way. I'm going to put my waves on the opposite diagonal. So I'm going to make a little wavy line over here with my blue. A little bit of wave, and I'll let a little go under there. And I'm going to put another little line. Doesn't have to be as long. And another little line close to that one. And then over here, I'm going to come and put some wavy lines. I always put like 3 close together. We'll put some right in front of his nose. This is where you got to get out of the water. I'll make one come from this side and only go halfway across. Let's put a few more underneath him. Maybe these will just be way over here. I'll put a few more coming over here. Make a long one and make a short one. Maybe another one right under his neck here. So maybe we'll make one come from this way and not even reach his head yet. Then we'll make another one. Oops. Oil pastels are coming apart on me. Maybe we'll make one wave on the other side. We'll give him 3 waves. So come around, make some waves in some places. We'll put some down here behind him. Okay. Now remember, you don't have to go this fast, but I got just a couple minutes left and I want to make sure you see what happens. This is my white. See how I've got purple all over it? So I'm going to get that purple off my white. Get the yellow off my white. And I'm going to take my white oil pastel and I'm going to go right on top of the blue. And it's going to give me some light blue. I don't want to go over all my blues. I want some of my blues to stay dark. And it doesn't matter if you don't get it right on top of the blue, because that'll just give us a little white ripple in the water. So use your white oil pastel and put it on top of some of your blues. And that'll give us this nice little wave action here. You know how when the water's getting close to the sand, it starts getting all those little ripples that kind of break across the water? This is our sea turtles right here at the end of the beach, or at the end of the water, getting ready to crawl onto the beach. And he's just about mated. This would be our sand out here. If we wanted to put a little sand, I could use my yellow. Oh, look, I have this really cool color. I don't know if you guys have that in your oil pastels or not. If you do, you could use that color. We could put a little sand out here. If you don't have that color, you can use yellow. We could even use this brown color here, because that kind of looks like sand too. And then you could use your white to go over the top of it. And look, I made a little bit of beach. There's your goal, Mr. Turtle. We're gonna make it to the beach here. So give him maybe a little sand right past your last ripple there. And then he knows where he's got to get to. There's where you're going, Mr. Turtle. Okay. Mr. Joey's going to pull our camera back. And remember, you guys can keep coloring. You can create some really awesome color combinations with your turtle. You can pull up the video and watch how to do the shading or how to do the ripples. But I like my sea turtle. Which sea turtle do you think? You think they might be related? I got green flipper here, and I got brown flippers here. So I'll be interested to see what color combinations your sea turtles have. So finish with your coloring. Pull the video up. It takes us just a few minutes to get posted. It's usually up there within about maybe another 15-20 minutes. So if you need to pull it back up, take a lunch break and then come back. Finish all your coloring, put your ripples on. Don't forget to put some squiggles on his fins. Give him this nice texture on his fins. That's really cool to see. I like how the white looked on top of the brown. If you're using brown, that gives a really nice light brown to it. I could use some white on the blue if I wanted some light blue on his shell. So try all your different color combinations. Take a picture and tag us at Idea Studio so I can see what color combinations your turtles turned out as. And tomorrow we are going to do a kind of silly project. Has to do with families and friends. And tonight is our first painting party. So if you know any adults who need a break tonight, need to do something silly and fun, we're going to paint these giraffes. They look really cool. I can't tell what Mr. Joey's telling me to do with it. They're pretty cool, and what we do is if you sign up for a painting party, it's only $15, the whole house can paint, particularly if you got paints at home. We've got supplies here if you need them. You go on the website, and the coolest thing is we send you a template of the giraffes. So you just cut them out and trace around them, and there's no drawing involved. So if you need something fun to do tonight, go on and sign up for our giraffes. We've got painting parties, I think, every Thursday all the way through May up there. So check us out on the website. Be sure and order your bags. Tomorrow's Friday. Next week we have colored pencils going back in bags for those that have not gotten colored pencils yet. And we're doing some really neat projects. Watercolor. We're going to use some watercolor next week with our oil pastels. So if you remember when we did dragonflies, did we do dragonflies? Yeah, they looked really, really cool. We're going to do a project like that. We're doing bumblebees next week. So we're going to have some watercolor. We're going to have some colored pencils. Go on and order your bags. It makes life way, way easier for Mr. Joey and Mark and I if we have the bags ordered before Saturday. So go online tonight, order your bags. We've already had a number ordered, and that will help us a lot. And I will see you tomorrow morning. Bye.